this idiotic rule is so destructive to the legacy of basketball that now Wemby's in jeopardy. Like you said, he might not make 65 games.
So I want to ask you about that. Let's get into it right now with the 65 game rule. And once again, this is NBA Observations. It is Stefan Piscano with the Stefan Piscano podcast, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. I truly appreciate it. With the 65 game rule, and as I said on the show, and I said to Joe, and because I know he is an adamant against it, because with collective bargaining agreement, which he cannot stand, et cetera, et cetera. I say there was a time I was with you on that, and I've watched your video, and I watched your thoughts on.
Thank you for being among the few that do. Thank you.
Yes, and I've watched it, and I was in line with you previously, but I've seen over the years some of the slightest reasons that people are just out of the game for whatever reasons, and I think it was, for me, there was a breaking point, Stefan. And it was when Miami had a home game. It wasn't against the Lakers, it was against somebody else. But he was listed out as ill. So he's sick. Okay, fine. He's not out. He's taking photographs after the game with kids who traveled from Brazil and had a sign that said, I traveled from 10,000 whatever miles from Brazil.
So while he's sick, he's hanging out, giving that sickness to kids.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. Or if he actually sick. So again, you make a mockery of those games, of the games that you're playing, and also the fact that it's no longer a great value unless you're in Memphis, Washington, certain losing places. It's no longer a bargain to go ahead and watch these games. So I don't care about the owners. I don't care about the players. They're all multimillionaires. They're all, in some cases, billionaires. But when you do the 65 game rule, the 65 game rule, hopefully there was some point in time where somebody thought, you know what, we need to put a demarcation line for the fans. And so I'm trying to think of it in as far as the fans are concerned, because if I'm leaving the arena, in the Miami arena, I see the guy who was reported sick taking photos with kids and laughing it up, and I'd be like, bleepity bleep bleep bleep, I just spent $200 waiting to see Jimmy Butler, and I didn't get.
Was it Jimmy Butler? Is that who it was?
It was Jimmy Butler. It was Jimmy Butler. That could be another tangent in and of itself, but you see what I'm saying? It's just at what point do we start caring about the fans in this equation, which I'm not as hard and fast against the 65 game rule on that, but I just wanted to put that perspective in there.
No, I hear you. And it's funny, Gerald, because we kind of had the opposite with it, I guess, because when it first was announced, I was actually for it for a lot of the reasons you're talking about. Mm-hmm. For me, though, as a fan, and I'm starting, the more other people that I know that are get to know in this new technological world that we've got here, where I can do what we're doing right now and meet Lakers fans and sports fans from around the world and all that. I'm kind of learning, maybe I'm in the minority, but for me, I think number one, I always care about the legacy of the sport and the players. And that really matters to me. I think maybe more than it matters to most people. So what made me originally excited about the 65 game rule is the season before that. I think it was just, if you go back and you look at the All NBA team from that season before, it's just pathetic. I mean, I know LeBron made second team All NBA that year, and we missed the playoffs that year. And somehow, off of media, whatever, he was second team All NBA. He played 45 games. And that was just, 3-4 years ago. So that's a joke. Jimmy Butler, to bring him up again, I think he made All NBA and he played like 55 games. So if you go up and down and look at the All NBA teams for that year before this rule was in, something did need to be done, because it was just players were playing half the damn season. Like I said, 45, 55 games. So that's insane. That's disrespectful to the sport. That's disrespectful to the fans, to your point. I've experienced, one time I took my brother to a Blazers game about 10, 11, well, I guess, about 13 years ago now. But anyway, and half of the other team was out, and we were just sitting there, and it's not fun when you go and you don't know that. So I get it. my problem with it is I feel like that the people that are being hurt the most by it are not the people that the rule was created to be enforced against. So the people that were really, really doing the load management, the Kawhi Leonards, the LeBron James, the Jimmy Butlers, even, Steph Curry to some extent, those kind of that older guard, it's hard for me to believe they're older now, but that older guard of stars that were resting on a just weekly basis just to keep their bodies intact to prolong their careers, which I can't blame them for doing. It's smart if you can get away with it. And all those players I just named, Kevin Durant, another one, their level of play is elite high into their late 30s. Now, LeBron's case, early 40s, probably largely because of all that resting they did for that 5-6 year stretch. But the younger players, the Lucas, now Wemby last year, if that rule wasn't in place last year, even though Wemby had the heart issue or whatever it was, blood clot issue, and he only played, I think, 46 games off the top of my head, he still led the league in total blocks last year. So I think he would have been voted Defensive Player of the Year last season, if not for that rule. Now this season, I mean, he's going to be probably the first unanimous Defensive Player of the Year in NBA history, but he might not be qualified again. So you've got this guy, this transformational, generational talent in Wemby that's been in the league 3 years. All I heard from everybody all these 3 years, he's going to win the DPOY every year. He's going to have 5-10 of them. If he doesn't qualify because of this stupid rule, he's going to be 3 years in and have zero. And he won't even make an all-NBA defensive team last year or this year because of this idiotic rule. Luka, we just talked about, he's had one of the most, insane statistical seasons in the history of basketball that, it's just him and Michael Jordan. Nobody else has ever done it, ever. Not Wilt Chamberlain, not LeBron James, not my guy Kobe. Nobody except Luka Doncic and Michael Jordan. And he's going to not even be third team All-NBA if he doesn't get that rescinded or whatnot, or get that appeal accepted because of this stupid rule. And even going to people that I don't care about, like Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, not a big fan of him, but you go down the list, and when people are Devin Booker, I just heard today, he's not going to qualify because of a weird niche in the rule where he'll play 66 games, but he's got 2 games that don't meet the minutes threshold. So the awards, which I care a lot about, because when we have these GOAT arguments decades later, years later, when kids, like, they're trying to learn about how great Kobe was now, one of the things I can tell a young person now that didn't get to see Kobe play is, well, he had more All-NBA defensive and All-NBA first team selections combined, if you combine those two, than any other player in history, I think, except for Tim Duncan, or maybe they're tied, I can't remember, but those matter. And it's supposed to be a snapshot of what happened that year, to where I can go back and say, wow, Luka had a great year. SGA had a great year. Jokic had a great year. Jokic might not even make it either. If Jokic breaks his toe tomorrow, he's not going to qualify if he doesn't play the remaining 3 games. So you could have 5 out of the 6 best players this season not be on any All-NBA team, and I just don't think that's right. So
I just no, and I can understand that, and I empathize. And again, I was completely opposite before really coming to grips with the fact that some of these injuries that they have are some of the reasons why they're just sitting out. They're sitting out for rest. And as Joe said, they're sent in the very best of airplanes. They're sent in the very best of travel. They have the best of comforts, and somehow they need rest. And it's just, those are irritating to me. And with, let's take the Lakers, for example. And we'll just, because that's who we follow the most. That's who we appreciate the most. The season ticket holders for next season have already got, or this season have already got next season's rates. And, as much as we love Mark Walter and all that stuff, they're substantially double-digit percentages higher.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
And so if, a lot of those people are selling tickets and whatnot, they're saying, okay, I'm not going to be there 82 games. So I'm going to be 41 games. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sell some of those off, et cetera, et cetera. So, if I'm spending $600, $700, $800, then I realize I get there and there's a higher likelihood, if we don't have a 65 game in there, as far as limited there, that a LeBron, Luka, or Austin, the people that I most likely want to see the most, are not there because of rest.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
That's the problem. So what do you do about that? What do you do to, okay, if you waive the 65 game rule tomorrow, what do you do to prevent that?
I
Because
have the
load
solution.
management is now something in the modern age that NBA does and does very well.
Well, I agree with you in general. And like I said, I mean, when it first came out, I think for the older guys that were doing it so heavy, and everybody was doing it for that period right after the pandemic. But I think for them, it is a way of life. Although it's funny, it worked for them because LeBron went from playing 45 and 55 games the 2 seasons prior to playing 70 plus games after they put the rule in. Kawhi Leonard, even the most notorious load management guy in history, he played enough to qualify for us. So it worked for those guys. But I think if we look at it, right, like Luka, Cade Cunningham, Wemby, Jokic, Edwards. Edwards has played like an Iron Man. If you go look at how many games he's played throughout his career, he's playing around 80 games every season except for this year. Those guys weren't load managing. Those guys just got hurt. Or in Luka's case, he had the stupid technical. He got the suspension. He had the 2 games for his birth of his child. And then he got hurt, the rest of it. So I'd like to find a way to differentiate between rest and an actual injury. And I know that's tough because like LeBron last night, that was a rest game, in my opinion.
That was we don't want you to go ahead and waste any energy by losing by 30 anyways to Oklahoma City illness. Yes. I know that itis very well.
The thunderitis. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. But when they put it on the injury report as a foot thing or whatever. So I know they could manipulate that if you had it to where it was. So I think the solution is you announce it. Adam Silver gets up there. He announces it. We're going to basically just say it like you're talking to a child. We're going to give you guys one more chance to just have some honor. Because all of the stuff that we're complaining about and that Joe's talking about and that you're talking about, that I'm talking about, and anybody that's watched the sport and cares about the sport and has watched it for a while, this is all pride. It's about, like Kobe said, like I've heard LeBron say, like I've heard MJ say in the past, you show up for the fans. You respect that somebody bought a ticket. That's why Kobe played with all the injuries, broken eye sockets and shoulder dislocations and all the things that he showed up and still gave it a shot to go so he could be there for the fan. But it really comes down to the media and the people that vote for these awards to use freaking common sense to enforce that pride. Because if they could rely on these idiots at ESPN and Fox Sports, the Mike Greenbergs of the world, the morons that put Jimmy Butler with 55 games played and LeBron that season with 45 games played, that actually voted for them to put them on NBA, those are the idiots that need to have their votes taken away and enforce it with common sense because if you could use common sense, they wouldn't have had to put this rule in the first place. And you can go, oh, okay, well, so this year Luka's played 64 games. He's one away. He's clearly first team All-NBA. We're going to put him on the ballot. Somebody that like Joel Embiid's got actually good numbers this year, but he's played 33, 34 games, whatever. We're not going to put him on any of the All-NBA. Just it comes down to common sense. So I would say we're going to give you guys a 2-year period. Use freaking common sense and vote accordingly and see if the media can handle it. And then if they can't, you make it known that then we're going to put the game minimums back in. And if you really aren't capable of just using common sense yourself, we'll do it for you. Because that, to me, that's where the whole rule, that's why we even had to have it in the first place. So
again, I'm not going to argue with you on it as far as the validity and what it does to the game and all that. But in the age of load management, I couldn't agree with you more. It's just when the prices at this point are just so high on a lot of things in our life and in our world and the tickets. And then I hear, and I see how much more will cost people to go to these games.
Yeah.
There should be a level of expectation that, 65 times a year or 65 times a season that you can expect at least the players that you're most likely paying for to be there on the court.
It is crazy too, isn't it? Because 65 really is a low number still. You're right. I mean, it shouldn't
It's
be
not.
that
I don't
hard
think
to
it's
do.
too egregious of a number. I just don't
No,
think. I mean, what percentage is that? I would know about 70%.
yeah, right around there. Well, let's see. Yeah, 60, but yeah, it's right around 65 to 70%. So, I mean, but I mean, you think about in the 90s and the 2000s, I mean, most players played 75, low 70s to high 70s or 80 games, 81 games. That was very common. It was, if you had a season where you played in the 60s or less, that was the rarity. You must have had a really horrible injury. So I, I don't know why it's so hard either. I hate to see the guys that have been the load managed guys like Kawhi Leonard, for example, um, getting rewarded for their play. And then you got guys, I just hate seeing guys like Wemby and Luka and even Anthony Edwards, Kate Cunningham, that their season should be documented somehow. I think that the NBA should come in, especially now if Wemby misses it too. I mean, well, what do you think? What should they do if you really, if Luca's appealed his for the birth of his child to see if they can give him credit for those
The
two
birth of
games?
child, I would pass over and let him have it. But then there comes the extra contingency of him missing a game because he was yelling at officials, 16 different, or other players, 16 different, or fans, 16 different times and got technicals for it. That's the hard one. That's the difficulty. So if I give it to him, then I'm rewarding him for his behavior for missing that one game because of reaching 16 technicals. So I don't know. Do you teach him a lesson so that, because all of us Lakers fans have said we want him to not do that as much.
He's got to work on that. Yeah.
And what is the best lesson you could go ahead and do? I'm going to sting you with that. As far as the best lesson is concerned, it's like, okay, I'm going to hit you where it hurts the most. I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, you want to become an MVP, you want to be eligible to this, then stop getting technicals. Because all of us in the chat and the Lakers have fast break, everywhere I go, I see it's like, okay, we knew what he was like. We were hoping that he would temper it down. Obviously, he's not. He's going to have to at some point because it's going to affect a lot more than just his MVP standing. But again, if this doesn't do, anything for him, the fact that it's now his chances of being eligible for postseason awards are now teetering on the brink. If that doesn't do anything for him going forward, then I mean, what
maybe
will
the threat of it? It's like when you're a kid and you mess up and your parents tell you if you do it again, we're taking your car away, but they don't actually take your car away. That kind of whatever. I don't know, but no, I hear you. I mean, it's sad to me. It's really sad to me that we're even in a position where we have to even talk about forcing players that are making more money than they've ever made. They're making 40, 50, 30, 20, 60, 70 million dollars a year. And we have to bribe them to get them to show up. It's sad that it's even a problem. But I feel like if you don't, as far as the awards go, I feel like if you don't showcase what happened in that year, you're actually not even hurting Luka or Wemby or Joe or whoever it is. You're hurting basketball because now this season, let's say Jokic, I hope he does. I never root for an injury for anybody, but let's say he breaks his toe tomorrow and he misses the rest of the year too, and Wemby doesn't come back. So now you've got Wemby, Cade, Edwards, Jokic, Luka all gone. Who's going to be in Booker because of the rule? Who's going to be on NBA first team? Is it just going to be like Jaylen Brown, SGA, and then a bunch of random people? We're going to have Rudy Gobert on second. I mean, that's not an accurate depiction of what happened for that season. So,
but I'm going to tell you right now, if they give him that accordance and they give him that allowance, and he is allowed to he gets the pie pass and becomes eligible, guess what he's going to go over? It's human nature, Stefan. And when you live long enough on this earth, you understand human nature often takes over and dictates what you will do next. And come next year, we might be complaining about this again. Why does Luka keep arguing with refs? Why does he go ahead and keep arguing with other players in whatever language? Why does he go ahead and go off on fans? At this point, it's just like, if you don't teach him a lesson, then he's just going to keep on doing it.
Maybe you give him a big fine. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the solution. Maybe for every game that you missed, you get a $500,000 fine. I don't know, or something like that.
That's just water. It's a drop in for a guy like him. What he's making, that's a drop in the bucket.
To him, or what is your final opinion on it? Then you think they're going to let him
give it to him? I think the best. I think they are going to give it to him. I think they are going to favor him because of the birth of his child, and they're going to give him the accordance on that. But what would teach him the best life? What would be the best thing for Lakers fans is the fact is if you teach him a lesson and he curbs it in following seasons as a member of the Lakers.
Yeah. I mean, because he probably is going to continue to get 12 to 20 texts a year throughout his career is what it feels like right now. And I don't fully understand that, Gerald. Tell you the truth. It doesn't make, you would think at some point you would kind of get tired of it, but it doesn't seem like he is. But I mean, he's what, 26, 27 years old still? I mean, maybe he'll grow out of it. We'll see.
Draymond Green never grew out of it.
No, he certainly didn't. He certainly didn't.